We're back with more church misconduct. We're back with more church sexual indiscretions. Robert Morris, the so-called man of God, is breaking one of the 10 commandments, that commandment being, thou shalt not commit adultery. This time, it's said to have happened with a 12-year-old. Plus, the church stated they knew what he was doing all along, and euphemistically referred to her as a young lady. It makes you wonder how the rules for thee and not for you and me really do work in this world. I can feel the eyes roll now, dear viewer. I can feel your snorting and I can feel your anger and your guile rising as another church leader is accused of being an infidelious paedophile. This story is from NBC News by Mike Hixenbaugh on the 21st of June, 2024. And boy, he ain't a nice guy, is he, infidel?
Well, that was quite an understatement. Reading through the article, as you mentioned, the young lady comment was just so dishonest when the church described this victim that way, because we're not dealing with a young lady, and it was a attempt to divert from the fact of just how sick and disgusting this actually is. And I just could not believe that there was this. Well, we talked to the church, and it was clear, and the parents and the original church I was at gave me my position back. Well, that's just a poor reflection on them. That's not a rationalization or justification. And to think that when she came back to him and said, "Hey, you're doing all this and you're getting away with it, and I'm suffering and I'm dealing with this. I think that you owe me." Him saying, "Well, you could be in trouble," and once again diverting blame and responsibility to her rather than taking it himself is absolutely disgusting. But actually, to be expected from somebody with this inflated sense of self-worth, when she mentioned him benefiting from keeping these secrets, he said, "You see the blessings God has poured out onto my life," and concluded, "is because I have hidden my past." He said that God doesn't work that way. He will not be mocked by deceit. Well, if that were true, that would be a great example of why this God isn't real at all. Because pouring out blessings, if that is what we rule and decide, whatever that means, as a good result, that God means we're okay with it, then maybe your God isn't such a good God, and because we already know that you're a piece of shit.
I'll tell you something. I'm not okay with it.
No.
You shouldn't be okay with it. Nobody should be okay with it. Having an affair with a 12-year-old that you have a duty of care towards is disgusting.
Yeah, even the term affair.
The hypocrisy. The hypocrisy of advocating Christian morality through politics, which is what this bloke does now. Great morals, having it off with a 12-year-old. Really well done there, mate. I don't want any of your Christian morality anywhere near me, my family, or civilization in general. And it's just a horrific rot that yet another Christian church has historic child molestation rise to the fore like a lost U-boat from the Second World War that just will not go away. It is disgusting. Jason, how disgusted are you?
This was a rough one. So when I was 14, a man named Rodney Graham became very close to me. He was a youth pastor here in Houston at Encourager Church over off I-10 in Wilcrest. He was in his 30s, married, kids, white, upper middle class. And he got real close to me because I had a real hard family life. I wasn't close to my family, wasn't especially not close to my dad, and obviously a queer kid, isolated. It's what happens. He would get me alone in his house, tell me about the love of Jesus, sit real close to me, give me full body massages, hold me, convince me to talk about my hardships, convince me to cry, rub on my legs, tell me how important it was to be close to other men and let them, quote, love on you and touch you and things like that. Luckily, around the time I was 18, I got excommunicated and shunned by my church community, so I got out of there. That said, years later, he finally got charged and convicted for molesting and raping an 11-year-old boy. And when I look back on those years of grooming and abuse, it breaks my fucking heart. I thought he was the one who was there for me, right? That's how they position themselves. That he actually loved me. I'd look back and I'd be like, man, I had such a hard fucking life, but at least Rodney was there for me. But then whenever I look into what really happened, and I'm honest with myself and went to therapy and all that shit, you really truly realize what's going on and what he did. It wasn't the case. So there was already a second trauma for that. He was getting his fucking rocks off by being a fucking gross predator and hiding behind the guise of holiness, like we've discussed before. So when it comes to Morris, I'd say the best thing is I just hope that he fucking suffers for the rest of his life and loses everything he loves, because a motherfucker that uses his position of power in that, my kid's 12. Infidel knows my kid. And I just don't understand why the parents haven't done something about this. It's making me sweat talking about this right now, because these fucking pieces of shit are elevated to places of authority and they're protected by motherfuckers who do the same shit. And it's people in power. It's people who have the power dynamic, like what Phoebe was talking about, and they fucking abuse it and they frame it as an affair. This is fucking premeditated, consistent rape, and then using their position of authority and their resources and God, I'm fucking sweating talking about this, and everything around them to fucking protect these motherfuckers. Then you see pictures of other people in authority, I can't name their names, with people like Epstein holding their hands and hanging out with them. And these are the same people that are all hanging out together. These are, and I hate to do the whole conspiracy child sex ring thing, but if we look at it time and time again, it is extremely hard to not believe it. But it's not who they're pointing at. You look at the people in charge and the people in power, they're the ones doing it. They're perpetuating it. That's why these fucking laws are so lax whenever it comes to fucking child sex abuse. That's why Rodney Graham, when you look him up on the Texas Sex Offender Registry, only got fucking probation because of his status, because of who he is. This man raped an 11-year-old boy, and he's still allowed to walk free and work and still allowed to do those things and benefit and have a business. He owns his own business, all this shit. So I don't know. I am disgusted, and we don't have enough penalties for fucking pieces of shit like this.
Well, let's move things on to another very disturbing element of this story, and that is the closeness with the world of politics that is here. And this person had a position in the Donald Trump presidency. This person had a position in that presidency as a faith advisor. It has to be seen that there are religious people that seem to coalesce around every president. I mean, Carter, Reagan, Bush Sr., Clinton. I mean, Bill Clinton had more religiosity going on in his presidency than any other in my lifetime. And that's including George W. Bush. These people get into the halls of power somehow. They get funneled all the way up somehow, and they have the ear of the most powerful person in the United States. Some would say the most powerful person in the world, but that's under dispute at the moment. And that is really disturbing, that these individuals who are known within their churches to molest children, or are accused to molest children, have that kind of ear of powerful political figures.
Yeah, this guy fucking admittedly molested them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and infidel. Does that disturb you?
Well, obviously, I think that disturb is probably a vast understatement, because I think that we're looking at two major problems here. And one is the reason we see these people sucking up to people in power and people in power in turn sucking up to them is because they provide each other cover for their own misdeeds. And not only that, but Christianity itself, we they talk about this I'm forgiven mentality. Well, you know what? I look back on my past and I look back on my life and I think about the things that I've done, that I've hurt other people, and things that I've done that I wish I hadn't have done in my life. But I don't have a little magic spell that I can sit and pray and forgive myself and take all of that away, because, and I'd rather not, because I'd rather live with that responsibility, because that awareness and that recognition that no, there is no magic forgiveness pill helps make me a better person, because then I understand that, you know what, next time I don't want to treat people this way, because I don't want to live with the guilt or negativity that came from it. However, these people can do things that are horrendous, just absolutely mind-boggling, and say, oh, dear Jesus, Daddy, forgive me. And it's gone. I'm forgiven. I'm washed in the blood. Amen, brothers and sisters. I'm okay. I'm back to being good again. So they can turn and rinse and repeat the same cycle of disgusting behavior on other people. And so, but we're looking at and going, oh, how disgusting. That's not a bug. That's a feature of Christianity. Yep. That's part of what the problem is. It's part of that ability to say, I'm forgiven, and I talk to the family, and they know I'm forgiven, and I did this, and the church knows that. All that bullshit helps them continue to perpetuate that in what can be, in my eyes, defined as nothing less than a sociopathic view of the world around them. And that is, to me, almost as unforgivable as what the acts that they perpetrate, because it allows it to continue.
Yep, I fully agree.
So here's a wider question. Where do we begin to remove this rot from society? Where do we begin to start to take this seriously? Where on earth do we begin, Jason?
We have to begin at the legal level. There needs to be, of course, there needs to be prison reform. I'm not advocating for prisons the way they are. But what we need to do is recognize the damage that behavior like this causes on people. And we need to quarantine these fucking people from the rest of the population in order to avoid this type of harm. What we have to do is pay attention, like what Infidel was talking about, and like what you were talking about, Phoebe, is these people run in packs. They bolster each other's shit. They're telling their lies. They're telling their lies. Well, I'm going to protect your lies while you protect my lies. We all know the lies. They all know what's going on. So there needs to be a revision of the justice system. There needs to be a, I don't know how you do it, but there needs to be a cultural disgust that the problem, we're dealing with a thing called a halo effect. These people are propped up in positions of power, and we are told to listen to them, and we're told to respect them, and we take authority as Americans as higher priority than empathy and caring for our communities. And we bow to them and we listen to what they say, and it's disgusting. There needs to be higher penalties for what happens. There needs to be longer, like I said, a quarantine from these people away. Remove them. You don't need to parade them around like pariahs of evil. I mean, they are fucking evil. They are evil. I don't believe in evil, but if there is evil, this motherfucker and all his friends, they're evil. They need to be quarantined away. And there needs to be a much worse penalty. I don't know. Again, I'm too emotional about it. I know what I would like to do, and I can't say it on here, nor would the ACA endorse anything that I would like to do. That said, and that's coming as a victim and as a parent. So I just think there needs to be a revamping, because like Infidel said, these people are so guilty. These people are so fucking depraved that they need somebody to fucking get sacrificed for the amount of evil they've done. I've never done anything so fucked up that somebody needs to die for me. So that really is fucking telling that these fucking scumbag pieces of shit run to a religion and hide behind a religion that forgives them of fucking horrible behavior. Maybe the whole hell thing is a projection based on their actions. They want to hate me because I like dick. Fuck them. You fucking rape kids. If there's a hell, it's for them.
You know, one thing that I wanted to say is I have a friend of mine. We've been friends for over 20 years, and he was in prison for several years. And he made the comment one day, and it really struck me strongly, because he said, you know, when I was in prison, we knew what to do with people like this. They weren't free to walk the block. They weren't free to do what they wanted to do and act how they want to act. But here in our free society, these people walk among us freely. They have the same rights. And that is just absolutely disgusting and a poor reflection, because there are some things, and like Jason, I'm not a fan of our prison system. There's a lot of problems with it. There's a lot of people that go to prison for things they shouldn't. But we do have a responsibility to protect our society and our children from people like this. And people like this, they shouldn't be free. Once this guy is convicted, like Jason mentioned, the person he talked about, probation? Are you kidding me? That person should never have the opportunity to walk as a free person again. Mm-hmm. And I'm not about punishment. I just accept the reality that they're a type of person that society has a responsibility to protect themselves from. Yep. And so that's where I look at prisons. Prisons are a place, in my opinion, where we should be able to put people who we recognize that, you know, as a determinist, though we can argue how they became who they are or what they are and all these things. But those are nuances that we can talk and discuss, and we can talk till we're blue in the face. But the bottom line is our responsibility is to protect society. And literally, the other side always wants to scream, save the children. I haven't seen pedophiles lining up at drag queen shows, but there's no shortage of them at churches. So yes, let's protect the children. And by doing that, let's put those people who are actually abusing children, let's put them in a position where they won't do it again.
Yes, sir.
And it's an indictment that this institution that we call the Christian church is infested. And we have seen it infested, not just in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in Germany, in France, Canada, Australia, where the Christian church has bedrocked and rooted itself. It has infected society to the point that it has pushed hate of groups it dislikes, and it has shielded those who push the correct words and bring in the correct connections and the correct cash. It's as simple as that. If you are in the club, you will be protected. If you're outside the club, like me, like Infidel, like Jason, like any other person who's ever appeared on this show that isn't what they want, which is damn near 999 million% of us, then you may as well just think it's one rule for them and it's one rule for us. And if you hate one rule for them and one rule for us, you should check out more of our explorations into this kind of absolutely abhorrent carry-on.